Hi, families. Mrs. Peters here. And I wanted to share some more information about hybrid learning, which is coming up on February, or it's starting the week of February 1st. I sent some information out in an email, and I'm grateful for some parents who responded with questions because it gave me a better idea of what you all might be wondering. So I'm going to respond to some of those here. Also, just know that we have been asked by our building leadership to make sure that information kind of comes out in for the district and then the building and then teachers. So we're trying to be careful to make sure that we kind of follow that. So I'm going to share with you everything that I know and can, which is, I think, a fair amount. And then I also encourage you to go to the district website or the building website if you have any other specific questions. So let me change that. Let me go here. All right, so one thing I thought families might like to see is the setup in our classroom. So as you can see, our classroom, like all others, has desks and tables spread apart. And so students will need to stay in their space. I know younger grades have actually created grids to help students understand kind of where their space is. I don't think for third graders that I need to do that. I'm still thinking about it. We'll see how it goes. But I think if they understand that they have to remain, within touching distance of their desk, I think we'll be okay. So that's what our classroom currently looks like. Students will each have a basket of supplies. They have their school supplies, you can see, in a bag, and then they will have their paper supplies, notebooks, and things in a basket, and that they will keep at their desk. At the end of their 2 days, those will get stacked at a location. Everything, gets cleaned. I think it gets cleaned daily, but and then the next group will have their own baskets then that they will take out. And so supplies will not be shared when we use math tools and things. Those will not be shared. Students will have all of their own supplies. So some parents are wondering kind of what students need to bring back, which is a great question. And a lot of these things have just, kind of been in the process of being decided. So what students need to bring back in terms of supplies is the two math books that you see here. So it's their Number Corner student book and their Just Bridges student book. They will keep home the Home Connections book. Everything else that they have, all of their journals, all of their supplies, are going to stay home for now. So they will get new supplies that will stay at school, and then they will have supplies to continue to work with at home. So we just don't want supplies coming back and forth between home and school. So those are the only two things in terms of supplies. And then, of course, they'll want to bring their things in a backpack. They can bring a water bottle. And then if they plan to bring lunch from home, their lunchbox. Backpacks will not be, in a shared space. They will be kept at student desks. So I will be following the lead of some kindergarten teachers and getting hooks to put on desks so that students can hook them and they're kind of up out of the way. So those are some things that they need to bring. As far as the schedule goes, so the morning group, Group A, attends on Monday and Tuesday. The afternoon group, Group B, attends on Thursday and Friday. So those groups aren't changing unless, of course, there's been a change that's requested. But that's how the schedule goes. Our day officially begins at 10:10, but we will be welcoming students into our classrooms anytime after 9:50. So as students arrive and go through the attestation process, they will then, come to our rooms and be completing some seat work or things to prepare for the day up until the official start at 10:10. So I encourage, if you are dropping your child off, if you're driving by car, I wouldn't delay bringing them so that they arrive right at 10:10. I know this has been the way that students arrived in my classroom when I taught in Evergreen for years. And I always appreciated that kind of slow roll in that gave kids a chance to kind of adjust, to be at school, get the materials prepared. So students who walked in at the last minute as we were starting our day, always, I felt like, kind of started a little bit behind. So And then we'll have a staggered dismissal at the end of the day, starting at 3:10. So we all classrooms at each grade have been given a number, 1 to 4, and kind of get excused by number so that we're not all exiting. Of course, it's also nice to know that we'll only have, about half the students in our building. So also, I just want to remind families that the in-person days are considered school days. Wednesday is still a school day. If you're a Monday, Tuesday in person, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are still considered school days. Students will continue to get assignments in their Google Classroom. Now, the interesting thing for teachers is now to really maximize the time we have together and then build assignments that are happening at home, kind of introduce them as we're together, and then have that work done kind of away from school. So let's see. Students will have a Zoom class with specialists on asynchronous days. So this has just been a recent development, and it's my understanding that it's a safety issue for specialists so that they're not exposed to, over 100 of kids or more each day. And so the decision was made to have them continue. And I know it's not the best, but they will meet with their art, music, health, PE, or library teachers on their async. So it'd be either a Monday, Tuesday, or a Thursday, Friday. I think the good thing about that is it gives them a sense of connection. They will get to see friends on those days. And I think it will also remind students that those are school days and that they do have things they need to do. Now, our current time, the draft schedule, as I saw it most recently, had third graders participating in those classes from 12:50 to 1:30. So they are 40-minute blocks. If that could change, I don't necessarily expect it to, and it hasn't in the last couple of days. But that is kind of how that will work. Lunch and recess. Students will be eating in the classroom at 12:40. That's kind of a long morning, and we will not be doing snacks like we might normally do if we had a long block. So I'm going to really be encouraging students to eat breakfast and eat a fairly good breakfast, a pretty solid breakfast, because it will be a bit of time before they get a chance to eat lunch. So our lunch period, again, it's in the classroom. I will be here with them. I will be using that time as they eat to do our read aloud, which is really a special time in our classroom. So it will keep, when masks are off, it'll keep talking at a very minimum. And so, and then that will be followed by a 30-minute playground recess. And it is my understanding, and I didn't go double check this, that students can take masks off during recess. And but they will be asked to kind of stay distanced from friends. So tag won't be a game, but I'm sure they'll find another way to chase each other around. So there are mask breaks kind of built into our schedule. We do have to go outside for mask breaks. So if I do find perhaps in the morning that we need to have that break, we can exit our classroom, if I understand correctly, and maybe just take a walk around the building with our masks off and being distanced. So that is how lunch and recess will work. Remote students, it's important for them to understand that they are going to be following the same schedule as hybrid students. And so whereas remote students have had some Zoom class for a few hours every day, they will now have a longer period of Zoom class with their teacher on 2 days a week, and then the other 3 will be their asynchronous work period. So just want to make sure families understand that. So we currently, I think every grade has 1 class of remote students per grade. And that students who are going to the remote option are going to be contacted Monday, if I understand correctly. It's not a big secret who that teacher is going to be, but we've just been asked. I know that Mrs. Sperry and Mr. Ziegler would both like to have conversations with parents about that. So I think 4th grade parents were called on Friday, yesterday, and 3rd grade parents are going to be called, and other parents on Monday. So it's not me. I can just tell you that I will be teaching in the classroom. So if your child is staying hybrid, they will stay with me, and then we will be having a few students from the remote teacher be joining our class. It's about, I think, 4 or 5 new students So some information. I thought you might like to see some of the safety precautions and measures that have been going in. Actually, kind of since September, they've been building up. So you'll see we have kind of a yellow line down the hallway to kind of make sure kids are staying on one side or the other, keeping to the right. We have the little kind of signs near the bathrooms so that when students go in and there's, one student allowed in the bathroom at a time, in theory, they go in and they say, someone's in here. And when they come out, they flip it. So hopefully we can work a good system down for that. Underneath those signs, you'll see that this is what we have in our classroom. So when students come in, and I only have one name magnet on there right now, but there will be magnets for each student on that board. And then they will indicate when they arrive with their name magnet. They will indicate whether they're going to have a school lunch, which will be a sack lunch delivered to our classroom, whether they brought their own lunch, because that's something I have to turn in. And then when they ask permission to use the bathroom, they will then move their magnet to there so I can keep track of who's in the bathroom. It's always been policy that one student from a classroom go to the bathroom at once. Usually I have one boy and one girl. So that's how I will be able to kind of monitor who is there. And then there will be marks by the bathrooms that will show that they need to kind of wait in 6 feet apart. So we'll work that out. I'm confident that as we begin this process that we can make that work for kids. Then there are just a couple of pictures of the variety of hand sanitizer stations that are in the building. Some are freestanding, like the one on the left, placed around the building, and then some, like the one on the right, is mounted at the entrance to the bathroom. There are also some of those mounted like at the top of the stairs. There are also, we have 2 big sets of stairs. Well, actually we have 3, but they're designated as either up staircases or down staircases, just to kind of minimize traffic in staircases. So those are some things. I also wanted to let you know, this is what my family has come to know over the years as Report Card Weekend. So it's the weekend that I devote to writing report cards. And so that is this weekend. I want to have them done by tomorrow night when we come back to school. So they're going to be a little bit challenging, and I just want to clarify some things. So as always, a 4 on a report card means that a student demonstrates a considerable level of excellence and depth of understanding. I wouldn't expect, as families, we have some really capable kids. I'm not expecting to give out 4s necessarily, because it's just hard. I always want to be able to back that up with evidence. And gathering evidence is a little bit tricky. So it doesn't mean that your child doesn't operate at that level, but it just means that as a teacher, under the circumstances, it's been more difficult to gather evidence about that. So 3 indicates that student work, they're indicating the ability to progress to the next level. So 2, a student shows progress, but is not yet reached grade level expectations. 1 would indicate, and I don't often have to give 1s, 1 indicates that progress isn't being made, and that generally means that we're taking steps to kind of change that child's placement. So there will also be probably a fair number of NAs. So NA is going to mean one of 2 things. It either means that I lack enough evidence to provide a score, so it's possible that a student just hasn't participated enough, unfortunately, and I don't feel like I have enough evidence. So the other meaning of NA is that the content wasn't covered. And so I will try and clarify that in the comments, whether the NA means I don't have enough evidence, or if the NA means that the content just wasn't covered first semester. So with that, thank you. As always, I appreciate all that families have done to support this process, and I'll continue to need you to support this process. Please look again for a brief survey. Those surveys give me really good information as we move through this together. So I'm hoping to just kind of gather some input regarding your hopes and expectations for hybrid learning, and maybe any other questions that you have. I also just want to do a shout out to our building leadership, Andrea Sperry and Ben Ziegler. I've worked in a couple of districts in this county, and worked for several different principals. And I'm thankful, really thankful for Andrew Sperry and Ben Ziegler. They're working very hard. I think being in middle management right now in a school system's got to be one of the hardest positions. They're kind of in between decisions that are being made at the district level and delivering those to families and teachers, and that's not always been easy. And so, you might consider just giving them a shout out, maybe sending them an email of appreciation. Um, I know that would mean a lot to them. So anyway, I'm looking forward to the next step on this journey. And again, I appreciate you and have a great weekend.